Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about electrification. I know we've been covering a lot of electric cars lately, but that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how Porsche or Porsche, depending on who you ask, is fighting to keep internal combustion engines alive. And the way they're doing that is they're producing a brand new fuel called e-fuel. It's supposed to be as clean as running an electric car, but you could run this fuel in your gas tank like a traditional, 93 octane pump gas. It's not a reality as of yet. It's not something that they have out in the market right away, but it is something that they are working on because they recognize that as much as, they are required to make electric cars and things like that in the future, not everybody is going to have an electric car. And along with that, you're talking, like aviation industries, you're talking like big truck industries. Like there's a lot of industries that are out there that still depend on fuel. When it comes to racing as well, I mean, as much as I like, electric cars, I think like the EF1, I think it's called the electric car Formula Racing is the most boring Formula Racing you can ever watch. And I'm a big F1 fan, so like, yeah, I'm all for that. Having Porsche come out with an alternative fuel, and give us enthusiasts something to really be excited about. Because last thing I want is having a silent car. Um, so yeah, let me get on with this. Let me show you some of the articles related to this, some of the data that's coming out, and share with you on this information on how Porsche, one of the best sports car, supercar company, is making sure that us as enthusiasts will get what we need, our fill of the exhaust noise. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the first article I want to show you is an article from Car and Driver. As the title states here, Porsche working on synthetic fuel to make ICE car as clean as EVs. So ICE, if you don't know what it means, it stands for internal combustion engines. So those are engines that burn fuel. And EV stands for electric vehicles. So just by reading the title, it tells you Porsche is working on a new fuel system or a new fuel that is going to be as clean as driving electric vehicles. I mean, where's the downside to that, right? Now, look at the subtitle here. The hydrogen based fuel will be ready for testing in 2022, including in the new Porsche 911 GT3 Cup race car. So I'm going to scroll down and show you exactly what they mean by this. So the fuel is basically ready for testing now. It's not commercially available yet, so like you can't go to a local gas station and start pumping this fuel. But Porsche has gotten to a point where they're saying, "Hey, we're gonna run our own race series, with our Porsche 911s and run this e-fuel instead of regular, race fuel that's normally used." So they're going to basically do a proof of concept on their race cars, which race cars usually require higher octane fuels than what we normally see on the road. So when you go, go pump race gas, you're looking at 100 octane or higher. So what they're saying in this sense is their fuel is going to be able to achieve all that, and be able to race with it. So we're not talking just standard 87 octane, just lower tier, lower priced fuel. We're talking high performance fuel. So, with that said, what they're doing right now, to create this new fuel that's going to be dubbed the e fuel, or they're saying it's called synthetic fuel because we're basically making the fuel. We're not really taking, the fossil fuel from underground, basically. It is a green option, and the reason they're doing this is like I mentioned before, Porsche realizes that not everybody's going to jump over to the EV train right away. It's going to take years and years and years for all the gasoline cars to go away, pretty much and get replaced fully with electric vehicles. Um, so they know the market is there no matter what. So I mean, they're going green, and at the same time they're keeping a lot of the customers happy. because if you had bought a 911 in the past 10 years and you don't plan on upgrading to the next 911 because it's an electric vehicle, now you don't really have to worry about it. Okay. With that said, it's, if you wanted to read this article, I'll actually link this below. It tells you a lot about what they're doing, pretty much why they're doing this, and how they plan on using it in their race series and things like that. Um, with that said, I can this article right here as well, the second one from Roadshow, actually tells you how this fuel is going to be produced and why they're saying it's going to be as clean as EV fuel. So, to summarize this article, what they're doing is they're using wind turbines to create the fuel. All right. So, there is a part of this article that I want to read out to you so that it tells you, you kind of get an idea of how they're doing this. Let me just find it here. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to read this part out to you. It says, but how is e-fuel made? Grossly simplifying the process, wind turbines generate renewable electricity, which is used to split water into hydrogen and oxygen through electrolysis. Next, the hydrogen is combined with carbon dioxide captured from the air, and through the magic of chemistry, it all gets synthesized into methanol, which is then converted into gasoline. But that's not all. This production process can also be used to produce synthetic kerosene. So beyond keeping your air-cooled 911 up and running, Porsche could also clean up shipping and aviation industries that are pretty much completely dependent on fossil fuels today. That's pretty mind-blowing, right? The way they're using wind to create fuel. So it's pretty amazing that they are using wind turbines to create this fuel. So, they're being as efficient as possible, they're being as green as possible. And with that said, what they're trying to do is they're trying to start by creating these wind turbines in high wind areas. And the reason they chose wind over solar is wind actually can be produced 24 hours a day versus solar is only parts of the day. But they say in the future, when this becomes more mainstream, they may also use solar power on top of wind farms to actually create these fuels. Um, with that said, how much all is this going to cost? Right now, gas prices are sky high. So I mean, we're I think we're paying $4 to $5 a gallon depending on where you live right now. I think the other day I just filled up 93 at like 4.80 a gallon. So with that said, when this e-fuel comes out, like, is that going to, how bad is it going to hurt our pockets? It does seem like, it's going to be an expensive process to build this, make this fuel. So I actually asked that question as well. How much is this going to cost? So right now, they're estimating that the initial price of when it comes out is going to be 10 euros per liter. That equals $44.73 per gallon. Yeah, that's about 10 times the amount of regular gasoline that we get right now. But once they get this thing more mainstream and they're making more fuel, they are thinking they can reduce that to $7.50 a gallon by 2026. And obviously, as that goes on longer and they are able to produce more at less cost, that cost will start to drop down lower and lower and lower. So hopefully it comes down to a point where it equals the regular gasoline price that we're seeing, and then maybe even lower. Maybe governments will give more incentives because it is more of a green technology than regular fossil fuels. Who knows how that's going to go? But I think it is definitely a viable way to keep ICE engines alive. And internal combustion engines, it's what makes our heart beat when we're driving our performance cars. So I think this is definitely a great step forward from Porsche. With that said, Porsche isn't the only company that's done this. There's other companies that have actually tried to do the same thing and are also trying right now to come up with different ways to keep internal combustions alive. So I think in the near future, we're going to see very, very green solutions to our non-green cars. So yeah, with that said, if you have any information that I've missed during my research that you want to comment below, feel free to do so. And I hope to bring you guys out more news in the future as this develops. Oh, and I just wanted to mention one thing. When I was researching this, the one thing that that basically clicked in my mind was Cars 2, the movie. If you actually watched that before, they actually talk about alternative fuel on there as well, but it turns out to be a big ploy. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I that's the first thing that crossed my mind when I started researching this. And I was like, "Oh wow, okay, Cars 2 actually made something that was very similar to this." So, if you haven't seen Cars 2, I suggest you watch it. It's pretty fun. Fun movie, obviously, and talks about alternative fuels there as well. Yeah, with that said, I'm going to wrap up the video for today. I will see you on the next one. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share. You know the whole drill. All right. Have a nice day, guys.